How many SAT questions can you do in 1 minute? What is the area of a circle with a circumference of 12 pi? The formula to finding the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared, where r is the radius, and the formula to finding the circumference of a circle, aka the perimeter of a circle, is 2 pi r. So in this case, the circumference is 12 pi, so we set 2 pi r equal to 12 pi. We would cancel that pi on both sides, giving us 2r is equal to 12. And to get the radius, we just divide both sides by 2. That's going to give us the radius is equal to 6. So we plug it back into this formula, pi 6 squared. 6 squared is 36. 36 times pi is 36 pi. D is the answer. Second question, the function f is defined by f of x is equal to 95 times 0.8 raised to the x power. What is the value of f of 0? In a function, the value inside of the parentheses is our input. So in this case, 0 is our x value. So all we have to do is plug 0 into all of the x variables in the expression. So it's going to be 95 times 0.8 raised to the 0 power. Anything raised to the 0 power is going to be 1. So it's just 95 times 1, which is 95. And that is your answer. In case your teacher didn't teach you, this is everything you need to know about fractions. The first one is adding fractions with unlike denominators. What I do is cross multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Bring up the operation. 3 plus 2 is 5. That's my numerator. And as for the denominator, I just multiply them. 2 times 3 is 6. So that's the sum. And for subtracting fractions, this is basically the same thing. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Bring up the operation. It's going to be 1 over 2 times 3, which is 6. That's the difference. And then 1/2 times 1/3. That's easy. You multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 is 1. And then multiply the denominators. 2 times 3 is 6. And then finally, dividing them. This one's a little more complicated. You're going to have to know keep, change, flip, where you keep the first fraction 1/2, change division into multiplication, and flip the second fraction around. So instead of 1/3, it's going to be 3 over 1, and that's just over here multiplying fractions. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2, and that is going to be the quotient. If you can do this, you're smarter than 70% of the population. If x over 2 to the 12th is equal to 8 over 2 to the 8th, solve for x. We have a proportion, so what I'm going to do is cross multiply. That's going to give us x times 2 to the 8th power is equal to 8 times 2 to the 12th power. And whenever you work with powers, you want to try to get the bases to be the same, which is the case for 2 to the 8th power and 2 to the 12th power, but not for 8. So we could actually rewrite 8 as 2 cubed because 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So let's rewrite our equation. It's going to be x times 2 to the 8th power is equal to 2 to the 3rd power times 2 to the 12th power. And here comes some exponent rules. Whenever you multiply powers with the same bases, you keep the base, in this case 2, and add up the exponents. 3 plus 12 is 15. And on this side, we have x times 2 to the 8th power. To get x alone, we're going to have to divide both sides by 2 to the 8th power. And here comes another exponent rule. Whenever you divide powers with the same bases, you again keep the base, but then this time subtract the exponents. 15 minus 8 is going to be 7. So our answer for x is going to be 8, 2 to the 7. No, you do not need a calculator for this. Not actually multiply this out, it will take you forever. So this is what you do. You're going to take the exponents and find the greatest common factor, which in this case would be 30. 120 could be rewritten as 30 times 4. 90 could be rewritten as 30 times 3. And you're going to have to know an exponent rule, which is whenever you raise a power to an exponent, you keep the base and multiply the exponents. So 2 to the 120th power could be rewritten as 2 to the 4th power, and the whole thing is raised to the 30th power, because according to this rule, they're the same thing. Same thing over here, we have 3 cubed and raise that to the 30th power. Now we can compare just the powers. 2 to the 4th power is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is a lot easier to solve. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. And so now we have 16 raised to the 30th power and 27 raised to the 30th power. Obviously, 27 raised to the 30th power is going to be bigger, so this is bigger. Let's see if you passed geometry. This figure is not drawn to scale, but we have to solve for this mystery angle, and to do that, we're first going to have to solve for this angle over here. So it's located in this quadrilateral, and in a quadrilateral, there is a total degree measure of 360. So to get this angle, all we have to do is subtract 360 with 3 times 80. 3 times 80 is going to be 240, and 360 minus 240 is 120. So this angle is 120 degrees, and as I said, this is not drawn to scale. And something from geometry that you should know is that vertical angles are congruent. So they are angles that are directly opposite from each other. So these two angles must be the same degree measure. So this is also 120 degrees. And now we're looking at this triangle. And in a triangle, there are a total of 180 degrees. So to get the measure of the sum of these two angles, we do 180 minus 120, which is 60. So the sum of these two angles are 60 degrees. But then these two lines over here indicate that these two sides are congruent, meaning that the angles opposite to the sides must also be congruent. So these two angles are congruent. All we have to do is divide 60 by 2, which is 30. So this angle is 30 degrees. And this angle form a line. In a line, there are also a total degree measure of 180 degrees. So to get this, we do 180 minus 30, which is 150. And that is your answer. If you can't do this, you're cooked. Find the value of x in the diagram. In order to solve for x, we're going to have to find the measure of this angle over here, which is complementary to x. And in order to get that angle, we have to see that it's part of triangle CDB. And these two dashes indicate that these two sides are congruent. And from geometry, you should know that if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite to the sides must also be congruent. So these two angles must have the same degree measure. In a triangle, there are a total of 180 degrees. So to get the measure of each angle, we do 180 minus 32, which is going to be 148. And since they're the same degree measure, we just divide that by 2, which is going to give us 74. So each angle is 74 degrees. And as I said earlier, 74 degrees and x are complementary. They form 90 degrees. So to get x, we do 90 minus 74, which is going to be 16. And that is going to be your answer. That is the value of x. Here's how to find mean, median, mode, and range. First one is mean, which is the average, and to solve for that, you take the sum and divide it by the number of numbers. So the sum in this case would be 1 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3, which is 12, and the number of numbers would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so that is the mean, aka the average, and the median is just the middle number. So I'm going to organize this in ascending order. We have 1, 3, 3, and then 5. The middle number would be between 3 and 3, and then only number between 3 and 3 is just 3. So that is the median. Whenever you have two numbers, you just take the average or the mean of the two numbers to get the median. And for the mode, it's the number that shows up the most. So in this case, it would be 3 because it shows up 2 times. And for range, you basically do the largest number minus the smallest number. So in this case, the largest number is going to be 5, and the smallest number is 1. That's going to be 4. That's your answer. This question should take you no longer than 1 minute. There's a lot going on. We have d times d times d times d is equal to d plus d plus d plus d. What is the value of d? Okay, so let's simplify this so it doesn't look like a clump of d's. On the left side, we have d times d times d times d, and that's a lot of d's. So we need to know a rule. Let's say we had 5 to the 4th power. That evaluated is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So we do the same thing here, but we reverse it. We have our base d, and then it's being multiplied 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So that's our exponent. That's the left-hand side. And for the right-hand side, instead of being multiplied, it's now added. We have d added up 4 times. So we could express that as 1, 2, 3, 4 times d. And now we could just solve for d. So I'm going to divide d on both sides. That's going to eliminate d on the right-hand side, giving us 4. D to the 4th power divided by d to the 1st power. Whenever you divide powers with the same bases, you keep the base and subtract the exponents. 4 minus 1 is 3. And finally, to get d alone, we do the opposite operation. So instead of cubing it, we're going to take the cube root of it. So the answer for d is going to be the cube root of 4. So B is the answer.